Yeah, no, I So I'm trying to if I start to respond,
Do you need Benadryl?
and I can feel it, it's I do. No, I'm okay. But if you start to, I start to turn into colors. Yeah,
I just want to reach it again. If you start to notice like catch.
I have to do this and I'm not.
Standing. No, I don't even do that. That would be a responsibility. That's no
Not here.
but that's something we're voting on, so it has to be actually. Other than
good thing I don't care.
Are we ready?
Does it matter?
No, it really doesn't.
Well then.
Good evening. The Board of Education will now call to order the public hearing on the proposed 2025-2026 millage rate and budget. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Secretary Ristich, will you please take roll call?
President Wagner, we are missing Member Donahue.
Thank you, Secretary Ristich. In the absence of Member Donahue, Member Sonnekrant will serve as our treasurer for this meeting. During this public hearing, the board welcomes comments from the public relative to the proposed 2025-2026 millage rate and budget, which the board will act on later this evening during the regular meeting. All right. While seeing no further public comments on the 2025-2026 millage rate and budget, the public hearing is now closed, and we will open the regular meeting. Unless there are objections, the regular meeting agenda will be approved as printed. Good? All right. We are moving on to public comments on action items. We will now take public comments on action items that will be voted on this evening. I do have a green card in regards to this. Allison Upledger, I don't know if I said your name correctly. While you're making your way to the podium, as you are recognized to speak, please move to the microphone right over here. It's right over on this side. And if you could be reminded that our comments are limited to 3 minutes in duration. Members of the public are invited to share comments. However, this is not intended, well, this one right here. Sorry. This is not intended to be a time for questions and answers. Lastly, participants may speak only once on the same topic and are asked to avoid statements that are personally directed, abusive, or obscene. Go ahead.
Hello and good evening. My name is Allison Uplegger, and for the last 7 years, I have been a proud member of the SAFE team, working in over 8 schools in that time. So you may know me from a variety of roles around the district, possibly presenting a Student of the Month award, serving on the DEI committee, chaperoning field trips, supporting school events, or coaching one of the many sports over at Pierce Middle School. Whether it's referee for 5th grade basketball program on the baseball fields for elementary kickball, or encouraging students during our spelling bees, I've had the pleasure of interacting with a lot of you. Unfortunately, the opportunity to have an active role in these programs for me has come to an end. 3 weeks ago, I received the earth-shattering news that I lost my job. I felt my world fall apart. Within a 20-minute meeting, my entire future became my past. I was born and raised in Waterford, nearly 3 decades of love and pride for a town that I no longer feel a part of. My future kids will miss out on the opportunity to go to the same schools that their mom went to. My department alone has hired 26 staff throughout the time that I've been here. Turnover in hiring has always been a challenge, but I was here to stay. The head of my former department, Ashley Gray, is the only staff that has been employed within our department as long as I have. I was informed that it was not fair to consider my position over staff that were hired a few months back. I was not given any explanation or understanding. As a district, we preach about the importance of building healthy relationships, but loyalty and compassion are rarely a priority. Another unfortunate truth is that I'm not in this alone. The public was told that less than 20 full-time staff were laid off, and that these changes would have no impact on the future of the district. I can tell you for a fact that this is not true. Librarians were cut from secondary schools, computer grant programs were cut from middle schools, staff were transferred to other buildings and demoted to different positions. Who's in charge of making these decisions? How are you determining the importance and impact of certain roles or staff? If seniority and performance are not being considered in these positions, what is worth considering? Based on their actions and decisions of Waterford, it's clear that you do not value your staff, students, or their families. The district stated that they plan and budget throughout the year. If these deficits are caused by COVID funding ending, why had we not planned and budgeted for these changes? If these deficits are brought on by decrease in enrollment, why do you think that families are leaving? For 7 years, I fought and defended against the negative reputation that Waterford has. My heart goes out to the kids and families who will now suffer because of the district's incompetence. I know I am not alone when I say that I have lost all trust in Waterford and each one of you. Thank you.
All right, are there any other green cards? Would anyone else like to speak on our action items? All right, we are going to move on. We're moving on to the consent agenda. Unless there are objections, the consent agenda will be approved as printed. All right, we are now going to move on to our information items, to our graduation report with Assistant Superintendent Wolf.
All right, good evening, Board of Education. I am really excited for the chance to share with you our graduation report video, which captures the commencement ceremonies that were held at Oakland University's O-Arena on June 1st for Durant High School, Mott High School, and Kettering High School. And so this video was put together by Jane Kelly, who's our video productions coordinator from our School and Community Service Department. And it highlights some wonderful moments. And if you were there on that day, that special day, that I know you remember how awesome it was. So this is a culmination of all of our students' hard works over 12, 13 years. Many of those students started in Waterford and have ended their high school career here in Waterford. And we're excited to see them move on to bigger and better things. So without further ado, here's our graduation report video for our grads, class of 2025. I'm going to build some suspense. Jane did a great job, and once again, congratulations to our students, class of 2025.
All right, anyone have any comments? Would you like to move on? It's always a fun day. Graduation is always a fun day. It's that reminder that this is what we are all here for. And it's always fun. I always enjoy seeing it. As a proud Corsair and a mom of 2 graduated Corsairs and a current Corsair, it's always fun to see kids that you've watched grow up to and your friends' kids that are still here in the community on all their mini-me's graduating. So it's a proud day for sure. Member Torres?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that the graduations, I mean, it's my favorite day of the year. Seeing the kids graduate every year, and then, you know, every year you're thinking, maybe I don't know a couple of these kids, and you always end up getting 2 or 3 or 4 that you know, and they come talk to you after. So it's always an exciting thing, and we make a lot of difficult decisions, as you know, in the budget process right now, and all of the things that we're doing here in Waterford, and some of the tough decisions we have to make. But, you know, that day is a huge bright spot, and I think really refuels us all in doing and keeping our focus on the task at hand and the decisions that we make as students.
All right, we are moving on to school meal prices for 2025-2026 with Assistant Superintendent Hildebrandt. And I believe is Michael Williams also joining you at the table? And Mr. Michael Williams.
Good evening, trustees. Michael William, our Director of Food Service, has put together a nice presentation for you.
Good evening, everybody. All right, my name is Michael Williams. I am the Food Service Director here for the School District of Waterford, and this is a presentation on feeding success, the role of CEP, and student wellness and funding. Okay. What is CEP? CEP, or Community Eligibility, is a federal-run program that allows eligible students to offer one free lunch and one free breakfast for every student without collecting individual meal applications. A couple of facts: it's funded through the National School Lunch Program, NSLP, and it helps eliminate the stigma around free and reduced lunches. Why it matters to not only our district, but all districts surrounding. Equal access to nutritious meals, every student eats for free. It leads to a better focus, behavior, and academic performance, and reduces food insecurity in our school communities. The forms. They're very important to our district. The CEP forms, which are called, excuse me, I'm sorry. The CEP forms no longer are called the free and reduced lunch forms. And because of that, they no longer pertain or are the head judge, or we don't use that information for rating a student if they're free, reduced, or full paid. Instead of that, the CEP forms and they're called EBFs, are required for the school district to collect funding, right? So state and federal funding allocations, Title I and other grant eligibility, and accurate collection funding for our schools. I've been receiving a lot of questions and about our national and nutritional standards as far as serving sizes. Our serving sizes are age appropriate, with the calorie and sodium limits. We have balanced portions of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains and lean proteins. For instance, K through 5 have a certain serving size, and 6 through 12 have a certain serving size. And with that included, the students are always eligible and always able to go up and get unlimited fruits and vegetables fresh every day. And if they want supers of the entree, that's an additional charge of $175. And we never, ever turn away a student, so we always make sure that our students eat if they come up and tell us they're hungry. As far as next year, even though we're in CEP we're locked in for another 2 years, we are looking to raise our a la carte pricing. The reasons for that is to offset the cost of offering our free meals under CEP. These changes help us continue providing quality meals to all the students, and that runs down for food quality, for our proteins, getting the best products that we can to serve our students. And it maintains our program's sustainability and stability. These are our current a la carte meal pricing. Currently, as you can see, elementary breakfasts are $175. We're going to look into increase everything by 25 cents across the board. But as I said, we are providing free lunch, breakfast and lunch at no cost for the next 2 years, okay? Most important thing is our adult meal pricing, which obviously, you know, our staff, they pay. But other than that, like I said, our students eat for free. Key takeaways from the information: CEP supports equality and access to in-school nutrition. Collecting CEP forms are crucial to funding and resources throughout the district. And that's why it's very important that all of our parents and our families get those forms in, EBFs. Nutritional standards ensure meals meet the needs of growing students, and our a la carte pricing adjustments are necessary to manage the cost increase while maintaining quality of our program. This is very important to me, and it hit home, and I was glad to partner with a group of students from Cooley. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. It's been a long day. With some beautiful students from Cooley. Our district, in our department, we're making an effort in going green, okay? And one of those efforts is that food service is taking on is to replace our foam trays, our black foam trays, with a recyclable material. Since then, I sat in front of the students in Cooley. They gave me a beautiful presentation. I understand that you guys were a part of that as well. And I sat down and I asked, how can I help? What can we do to make this work, right? So it took a little bit of patience with the type of things I asked to come in so we can kind of test out. It was an experiment, but we finally landed on a 5-pound paper boat. And what the students feel great about is not only did we make that change for Cooley directly, we since then have transitioned throughout the whole district in that, okay? And every time I visit Cooley, which is at least once a week, and I see the students all the time, fifth graders, I let them know that they were important to a very big change in the school district. So their advocacy helped push the incentive forward, showing the impact of students' voices and shaping our schools. And if you guys have any other questions, you know. Mr. Petruccia?
Trustee McGregor? Oh.
Yes, turkey stop.
I knew it. That's why I asked you first.
Yes. Why not?
Turkey stop? You want it next year? Come. I'll get your information. I'll let you know when I have the order for you.
A healthy version of it, right?
Yes. Yes. No. Every Thanksgiving is here.
Anyone told you they love you yet today?
No, but I'll take that. Thank you.
All right, Trustee McGregor?
So my understanding, right, is that the families have to fill out these forms so that our district can get the funding.
Correct.
To be able to provide these meals. My understanding is that we also have those forms online. Do we have ways to make those forms accessible to individuals that might not have internet access? Because I know most of us do, but if you're low income, you probably can't afford it all the time.
Correct, and that's a great question to ask. So us in food service, we've tried to make everything accessible to everyone. Right now, we're running our summer program, and most of those parents do participate in our summer program, and every day we have, in every location, we have those forms available to fill out with one of my food service staff members to help them read through, fill it out exactly the way it's supposed to be filled out. Again, those forms now are not used for funding for food service, but just as important, it's used for funding for the school district as a whole, for equipment and things of that nature. So it's just as important, and we need to get everyone in.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, Member Torres?
So with the, those forms, how many, is there a quota of forms that we have to have or a certain percentage?
Percentage?
Because it's not everybody, right?
No, so
We just need a
it's-
certain criteria.
With those, just like applications with the free and reduced, every district, every state, it's different everywhere you go. We just say as many as possible because we need to get as much funding as possible, whether it's for the food service program or for the school district. And we try to do our best. Like I said, during the summertime, we have forms everywhere, right? During enrollment, they're online, so the parents can fill it out online. And then also the last day of our summer service, we hold, it'll be at Mott this summer, and we're gonna blast it all through our social media, but we're gonna have like a fair type of activities where it's gonna be like a beach volleyball and things like that. I'm gonna go out, kick the grill out and barbecue. We're gonna tie-dye to make sure that all the parents that can be there are there, and again, we're gonna have those EBFs there and walk them through it and get them filled out.
And I just want to reiterate, you know, how important these school lunch and breakfast programs are, and that during the pandemic, we especially saw it where families, you know, who couldn't, you know, provide, were able to come to our drive-throughs and get it at specific areas. I know we're open during the summer to help with that, so that no kid goes hungry, that they have somewhere to go to at least get the 2 meals. And as a parent, you know, I look at it as though, you know, my kid eats, you know, the breakfast and the lunch just about every day, you know, and as a parent, that lightens my load. Certain days she might want me to make her something, but it's a great thing. And getting that breakfast, because a lot of kids, they don't want to eat in the morning, or they eat a very small, unnutritious breakfast. Then they get to school and they have that second chance, that opportunity to eat another breakfast. And my daughter, 5th grader, she enjoys the food, and it exposes her to foods that, you know, she may not eat at home. So for that, I appreciate you and the work that you do. I know it's a tremendous undertaking. I saw that during COVID, and I was just amazed at the amount of work and the efficiency and just the coordination that goes into serving meals in a school district as big as Waterford.
And that's all a reflection of my staff, right? Everyone I trust. Since I've been here, we have raised participation almost 30% from my first year here, and we're going to continue to do it. We take student surveys, we do taste testing. We really want to know what the students want to eat so that when they come, they eat, you know? And it's just been a partnership with myself and the principals of each building, getting in there and really talking to the students, because they're why we're here, so.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, and as we all know, there is a direct correlation between hunger and the ability to learn.
Correct.
And so kudos to your staff, to you, to the whole department, because we have a phenomenal food service program here in Waterford. Also, kudos to the Cooley Elementary students for advocating for change.
They jumped me.
Well, well, kudos to them for making sure it happened. That's a very powerful message that they sent and was heard, and I think it's a great example of how our students and their voices and how important they are. All right, thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, we are going to move on to the summer tax collection resolution with Assistant Superintendent Hildebrandt.
Good evening again, trustees. Waterford, we participate with the summer tax collection. What that means is we levy all of our non-homestead taxes with the July 1st levy with each one of our 5 municipalities. In order to be in compliance with the laws, We are seeking your approval on this now. This is for next July of 2026. We're required to submit that we're doing it by January 1st. We always choose to do this with our annualized meetings in June and July to ensure that we're compliant. So we'll be bringing it for action next month. What that does is just on all those non-homestead, the non-primary residents, applies the non-homestead rate to all those commercial businesses. So it's levied fully July 1 and collectible without interest or penalties by September 15th of each year. Any questions?
Any questions? And just for our listening public, just to understand that there are 5 municipalities that our district serves. It's not just Waterford Township. We have Independence, White Lake, the city of Lake Angeles, and we also serve students in West Bloomfield. So those are the 5 municipalities that we're referring to. All right, thank you. All right, we are going to move on to policy updates. The board is in receipt of proposed policy updates relative to Title IX and technology. These updates are provided by Neola, the district's policy service provider, and reviewed by Neola's legal department for statutory compliance, as well as administration. The board is asked to review these proposed policies over the coming weeks and reach out with any questions. A recommendation for approval will be presented on July 17th, 2025. And so everyone sees you do have the policy updates here for you for your review. All right, no questions on that. We're going to keep moving on. We are going to move on to the hockey cooperative agreement with Assistant Superintendent Wolf.
Okay. So Kettering High School, Mott High School, and Bloomfield Hills High School and West Bloomfield Hills High School are requesting a cooperative agreement for ice hockey beginning next school year, 25-26. Previously, Waterford Kettering, Waterford Mott, and West Bloomfield had a long-standing cooperative agreement, and at one point in the past as well, that included Wall Lake Central, I believe. Moving into the 25-26 school year, next year, 3 school districts and now 4 high schools, which will also include Bloomfield Hills and West Bloomfield as well, are requesting a cooperative agreement due to low participation numbers from each of these 3 schools. And so this is something that we've done either annually or biannually based on any changes of those teams. And we're here to make that request and hopes for it to be approved in July at the next board meeting. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you so much. I feel like we're doing revolving seats, like. So we're now moving on to the water filling station purchase with Assistant Superintendent Hildebrand and Mr. Sid Tippett.
Hello. So I'm here today because we are requesting 30 bottle filling stations that will be used throughout the school district. This is to come into compliance with the Clean Drinking Water Act that is supposed to be finished by next summer of +26. We were awarded a grant of $168,000, so that will pay for these 30 drinking fountain stations, plus the install we will figure out later, and then we've also purchased some other items within that grant. This is part of this project. One of the stipulations is that for every 100 occupants within a school, we have to have 1 bottle filling station. So luckily, we've already have a lot in a lot of the schools. We're going to go ahead and get them all straightened out, and these 30 are going to go towards coming into compliance.
All right, great. Are there any questions? Member Petrucia?
I realize this is a grant. This is going to cover both the filling station, which is almost $2,000 each, and the labor to put it in, even though we don't know how much the labor is?
No, this is just for the actual 30 drinking fountain stations. When I applied for the grant, it was for specifically these 30. So, and then the rest of the money will go towards the install.
The installation, but We don't have a price on that.
No.
Is there a filter that goes in these, like in my refrigerator, that has to be
Yep.
re-upped every, however you use it?
Absolutely.
So there's an incurring cost that, yes, it's a grant, we get it for free, but it's going to cost us down the road.
Absolutely.
In Waterford, we have very, very good water. We don't use a city water type, Detroit water. It comes out of the ground, goes to our pumping stations, is filtered, monitored, and is very healthy. Last year, maybe it's been 5 years, I don't know, but we just had all of our drinking fountains tested. That was a requirement. I think that was because of the Clean Water Act, to make sure that we have safe water and safe drinking fountains. They're not lead-lined or however. But it's one of these things, it's free, but it's going to cost us. And it's going to cost us forever, because if we're going to replace filters, if it's going to work, if it's going to block things that aren't actually there, they still get full of whatever, and you have to, it's just another cost.
Sure.
And it's a cost to put them in. We've been putting them in during all of our renovations.
We have.
We've added the bottle filler things. And again, I don't know if it's just people are afraid to drink out of a drinking fountain type thing, but it's somebody giving us money, which they don't have, which we can't afford to keep up with. But it seems like such a great deal. Why aren't we doing it? I don't care for it. I don't like the concept and the ongoing cost, and there's nothing wrong with my drinking fountains right now. So that's why I have issues with it. But that's just me.
Do you have a question? All right, Member Stitch?
Mr. Tippett, did you say the grant was for 168,000?
Yes.
So this 58 will come out of that, and the installation will also come out of the grant as
Yep.
well? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So can I just get some clarification? Because on the bid, it says, quote, valid until 7/31/2025. Then right underneath it, it says, due to tariffs and economic uncertainty, Allied cannot guarantee materials pricing.
I'm getting that for all of my quotes, no matter it's a rooftop units or drinking fountain stations. That's just, it's there. I did talk to them about it. They said, of course, they don't feel like this is going to change.
So it's quote valid unless something happens. Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Can you tell me a little bit, Mr. Tippett, what stand, so this is to bring us into compliance with the Clean Drinking Water Access Act, what do these filters do that bring us into compliance? So in essence, I'm asking, what do they filter out?
Yeah, so the main component is lead. So it's lead and copper. That is the main two things. The filters that we have, they will go ahead and filter those. By the time summer of 2026, what will have to happen is all drinking sources for students will have to be filtered. So anything that is not, will have to have a sign that says this is, not a drinking source, and everything else needs to be filtered. At that point also, we'll have yearly testing that has to be involved with this, replacement of filters, and everything. So, and then of course we have a plan that goes with it. But it's a big undertaking. There's a lot going on. You're absolutely right in the fact that we've already been installing these bottle filling stations. Mott's pretty much taken care of over because of this last renovation. So that was a big help. And we're just continuing to go forward.
So to come into compliance with this, to Patricia's point, there will be an increased cost of materials, compliance, and testing.
Absolutely.
And it's, the state is, we have to do this to be in compliance with the state. If we chose not to do it, we would be in trouble, because this will become law as of 2026.
Yes.
All right, great. Any other,
Give everybody a garden hose.
Member Torres?
How long does a station last? Like, what's the life on it?
Of an actual bottle filling station or the filter?
Bottle filling station.
I don't really know. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure, but I know we have quite a few that last a long time. There's not much to them, and we have a lot of different parts too that we can go ahead and we have people that can repair them as well.
So there's a lot of longevity with them.
Yeah, I believe so.
Just having the parts and the maintenance and those kinds of things. And then you said that, are we replacing old ones, or is we're just compliant with having one in each school?
So we have to have, like I said, one bottle filling station for every 100 occupants. So take Donaldson, we'll need 5, right? So we have to have those installed. The other drinking fountains, you can still have non-bottle filling drinking fountains, but they have to be filtered, right? So that's just another component of this, right? So we can go ahead and eliminate some, we can add some, but this bottle filling stations, because for the bottle filling stations to be compliant, they have to have a bottle filler, a bubbler, a count, and then also let you know the filter status. And if it doesn't have that, it doesn't comply.
And then the grant, where's that coming from? Who was the grant source?
It's from the state.
Oh, it is the state of Michigan, okay. And then, so we're using 58,000 of the 168,000, but we can't use any of that money for installation?
No, we can.
Oh, we can?
Yes.
We can use that money?
Yes.
Okay.
Because of the tariffs and everything going on and the prices going on, I'm just trying to get these as soon as possible.
Okay, so we can use some of that
Yep.
left over?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, are there any, Member McGregor?
For these filters, and I don't see it specified in here, and I might have missed it, are we looking at something like reverse osmosis or standalone? I'm thinking about like the electrical, if you get into reverse osmosis, it's going to be a bigger tear up. Are these like when you get into electrical, it also gets into more complicated things?
Sure. I mean, you're going to have to have, you are going to have electricity, right, to go ahead and have, because it needs to be cooled. So that certainly plays a part. But, I mean,
Yeah.
it is a filter that's, you know, a high-quality commercial filter that's going to filter out lead and copper. But it is still just pretty much like a standard one you would have in your refrigerator.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Thank you for the information. We're going to move on to our Middle Cities Risk Management Trustee appointment with Assistant Superintendent Hildebrandt.
Good evening again, trustees. Middle Cities is our risk pool insurance, and with the retirement of Mr. Beaver, we have to name a new trustee and alternate. And so I'm putting forth in front of you to name the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations, my position, as the primary trustee, the Director of Operations and Maintenance, Mr. Tippett, as the alternate, and then I would also be the risk coordinator for the district. And we're listing these now by the names of the positions rather than the people. So I'm just bringing this forth to you. We then have a voice within the pool. It's just a standard thing we need to do because Jim decided to retire.
Are there any questions? Member Petrucia?
Because you're listing it by the position, nobody's leaving, are they?
No,
Okay.
no, it's just so
I
that
just
we
want to
don't
make sure
ever
you're
have
not
to
like,
do
oh,
this
I'm going to put it
again.
there because.
And
Okay.
actually, Middle Cities actually suggested that.
I like it.
All right, great. Thank you so much. All right, we are moving on to new business with Treasurer Sonnekrant, who is standing in for Member Donahue. Go ahead.
Superintendent's Recommendation 62-24-25, Summer Tax Collection Fees 2025-2026. It is recommended that the board approve the 2025-2026 summer tax collection fees as presented. I so move.
Support.
Support. All right, the motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? Member Petrucia?
Waterford charges us the least because they have the most, probably they don't have to, would that be, or they're just nice to us? They're charging us $258, where White Lake charges us $540. Only $3 more per. Can you explain that?
Up and sit.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I don't yell. So Waterford, that pricing had been locked in for a few years. This is the last year of that pricing. I anticipate that we're going to see that kick up a little bit. We know postage is going up, things along those lines. In totality for the district, we're paying just about $96,000 to have those taxes levied in July.
And it's the most, but they're charging us the least out of.
Correct, the
other
per parcel is the least.
parcels, so.
But it is subject to each municipality.
And it-
I can't see into the future. My gut would tell me that with the cost of supplies and postage, that more likely than not, we'll see an increase next year.
And that's something that's going to be going up, just another additional type thing. Another question on it. Can't remember what it was. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Are there any other questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Member Sonnekrant?
Superintendent's recommendation 63-20, nope, is this the right one? I'm sorry. Bear with me. I feel like I just read that.
No, that's the right one, 63-23.
Perfect. Resolution for adoption by the Board of Education of the Waterford School District Final Budget 2024-2025. Resolved that this resolution shall be the general appropriations, Waterford School District, for fiscal year 2024-2025. A resolution to make appropriations and to provide for the expenditure of the appropriations and provide for the disposition of all income received by Waterford School District. Be it further resolved that the revised total revenues of $128,071,819 and unappropriated fund balance of $16,718,229 for appropriations and the general fund of the Waterford School District for fiscal year 2024-2025. This is an increase of $7,466,324 from the original 2024-25 budget. The increase's revenue is mainly due to an increase in revenues from the state of Michigan. Be it further resolved that $130,800,475 is hereby appropriated in the general fund. Be it further resolved that $11,299,096 is hereby appropriated in the school service fund. Be it further resolved that $8,022,994 is hereby being appropriated in the Special Education Center Program Fund. Be it further resolved that $24,294,740 is hereby appropriated in the Debt Retirement Fund. The appropriation details of this information item are available to the public upon request. I so move.
Support.
Support. The motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? Member Patricia?
In our final budget on the first page, because in our pages here, we had a fund balance at July 1st. So we started out July 1st, we had 16.7 million in our fund balance. And we are going to be ending with just a little under 14 million
Correct.
in this one. So we spent money we didn't have.
We spent money from our savings account.
Okay. So I mean, but it isn't like we had some more money here and there. It flows in, it flows out. Joan used to be good at these questions. She would all understand them. But I just looked at the big numbers. I had a savings account of 17 million. Now I have one of 14.
Correct. And that is, part of the structural deficit that we've discussed.
Yes. And it's one of them things where it didn't just evaporate. It come from somewhere.
Correct.
To survive for this budget to get through.
Correct.
And another question, again, I was kind of hoping the place would be full tonight, because again, this is our budget. This is one of the biggest things that we do in the school year is our budget. I understand if you go online, my wife would say, well, people are complaining about this, people are complaining, where did this go, where did that go? I don't know, they're not here, so I'm just disappointed in that. That's all.
Any other questions or comments? Member Ristich?
Yeah, Ms. Hildebrand, I did want to thank you for your work here, because 1 year ago, when we were sitting at this table approving our preliminary budget for the proposed budget for 24-25, we were in a very different situation. Then we were budgeting for adding $1 million to about $1 million to the general fund. So I can't imagine your surprise when you came in earlier this year and found that the pendulum had shifted a couple $1 million to the bad. So I appreciate your forthrightness and your ability to bring that information as soon as you stepped into it to the board, so that we can have conversations. And again, this, over the last month and a half, to know that we've gone from adding $1 million to having to use money from our savings account is like a punch in the gut, and I know we have a lot of folks here who are going to speak to that. I did, too, want to thank you because at our last meeting, you outlined some really impressive and really important budgeting procedures that you'll be initiating over the next, well, during your time here, which is multi-year forecasting. Excited to be able to think more than 1 year in advance, right? That we'll have more info and more updates for the board, more regular updates, and particularly paying close attention to the accounts that will be brought in front of the board. We know, too, that we'll be taking action on revised budgets as we go forward, which helps to make sure that when we do need to make adjustments, that the board takes action on those adjustments. And 2, making sure that we are engaging in that auditing process earlier so that, again, we're meeting our compliance obligations. Because at the end of last year, we had, again, talk about surprises, we had a perfect audit. So a perfect audit. 1 year ago, we were adding $1 million to the general fund, and suddenly things have changed. So I wanted to thank you for your work and bringing that to the board and for these preventative steps that you're putting into place for us.
You're welcome.
All right, are there any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Treasurer Sonnekrantz? She will never, ever agree to do this again when I ask her to. There is a lot to read tonight.
Superintendent's Recommendation 64-24-25, millage rates 2025-2026. It is recommended that the Board of Education certify the tax levy to the charter townships of Waterford, Independence, White Lake, West Bloomfield, and the City of Lake Angeles for the 2025-2026 school district tax collection as presented. I so move.
Support. All right, the motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 6-0.
And again. Superintendent's Recommendations 65-24-25, resolution for adoption by the Board of Education of Waterford School District, original budget 2025-2026. Resolved that this resolution shall be the general appropriations Waterford School District for fiscal year 2025-2026. A resolution to make appropriations and to provide for the expenditure of the appropriations and to provide for the disposition of all income received by the Waterford School District. The property tax rate will be 17.6749 mils on non-homestead property. The proceeds will be used to pay the general fund operating expenses. Be it further resolved that $122,447,062 is hereby appropriated in the general fund. Be it further resolved that $10,884,189 is hereby appropriated in the school service fund. Be it further resolved that $8,837,757 is hereby appropriated in the Special Education Center Program Fund. Be it further resolved that $23,916,944 is hereby appropriated in the Debt Retirement Fund. The appropriation details of this information item are available to the public upon request. I so move.
Support.
Support. All right, the motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? Member McGregor?
So one of the things more for the audience, because I think this is important, is that this is not going to be a final budget. This is our original. At the moment, the state has two different versions of the budget in the House and a single version in the Senate. They have not come to an agreement yet. That will not occur until October 1st, I believe is the requirement.
Well, that's actually what, we'll be talking about that in the resolution, because they have until October 1st.
Yeah.
But it is currently, and we'll speak to that more when we get to the resolution that we're going to be proposing to adopt tonight in regards to the budget. But this is our original budget, and to your point, and to our listening audience, we have to, by state law, approve a balanced budget by June 30th. And as most people who know in the audience, if they've come, we often do revised budgets through the year when we do get our funding. We don't have our funding right now, but they do have until October. The hope is they will not wait until October to let us know what our funding is. So, yes. That's, and we're going to go, we will be speaking in more detail about the House bill, because it's a problem. All right, Member Petrucia?
Government politicians, gotta love them. Our local sources, so we get basically $19 million locally and closer to $90 million from the state. So a lot of people don't realize how much more comes from the state and how much we rely on them to get us some money. So when it is or isn't here, it gets more confusing, a lot more guessing. And again, you have done a wonderful job. I absolutely appreciate you. Thank you. I'm still gonna be hard on you. But there's people are, in the community, they're going, hey, we pay for your school district. You do, either locally through taxes or by sales taxes when they changed that back in '94 under Proposal A. Yeah, it's a long, long time ago. But there's just so much to it. It's a moving target. It's a moving thing that I can't comprehend. Need Joan. So, no, that's all I had is Miss Joan.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
I just want to also make a comment. And as Member Petrucia said, there's other sources outside of the state. Majority does come, but we also have federal dollars as well. And advocacy needs to be put forth on that as well. But as we were stating earlier, the state allocation of dollars, we don't know where it's going to be. We're waiting for the legislators in Lansing to tell us where it's at. But when we look at the federal end, it's not looking good as far as Title II funding, ELL, the English language learners funding, funding for DEI programs, teacher pipeline programs. So there's a lot of advocacy that needs to be done at the federal level by people in this community, by these board members, and also at the state level, so that we can get our kids in a place that they need to be in order to succeed. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 6-0. We are going to give Member Sonnekrant a break and move over to Secretary Ristich.
Superintendent's recommendation 662425, administrative appointment. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following administrative appointment. Mr. Christopher Cooper, principal, location Donaldson Hills Elementary, 100% administrator contract, effective date July 28th, 2025, and I so move.
Support. All right, we will kick it over to Lisa once we do our vote, so I think we need to do our vote very quickly. All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 6-0. And we are going to move it over to our interim superintendent, Eldridge, so she can introduce our new principal.
Good evening. We are very fortunate to have with us Mr. Christopher Cooper, who comes to us from Walled Lake as a teacher of many years. And he went through 3 very intense rounds of interviews and definitely showed us that he is more than capable and will do a fantastic job for our students, families, and staff at Donaldson Hills Elementary. And I'm going to ask Mr. Cooper to go up to the podium if he would and just share a little bit with us so we can welcome you.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Eldridge, and thank you, Board, for believing in me. I've been a teacher in the Walled Lake Community School District for over 30 years, and I'm looking forward to serving the Waterford community in that way as well. I'm looking forward to serving our students, our staff, and our community. And I'm really looking forward to proudly wearing my Waterford lanyard along with my Donaldson Dragons, lanyard, and serving the Waterford School District for many years. So thank you for trusting in me and believing in me, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
All right.
Welcome.
Welcome.
All right, welcome, welcome.
He's going to be old when he retires. Put in 30 years, Walled Lake, he's going to put in 30 years
Right.
here. Wow.
Young.
Yes, it keeps you young. Well, welcome to our district. We're very excited to have you here, and I know the families over at Donaldson Hills will also be very grateful and are excited to have you in our district as well. All right, we are going to move on and move back over to Treasurer Sonnekrant for our next item.
Making sure I have the right one, okay. Superintendent's Recommendation 67-24-25, 2025-26 GSRP Lead Teacher Wage Scale. It is recommended that the board approve the adjustment of the GSRP Lead Teacher Wage Scale for the 2025-26 school year, funded by the GSRP grant allocation. I so move.
Support. All right, the motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? And I would like to point out, as Member Sonnekrant did when she was reading it, that this is grant funded. So this is not money that's coming out of our general fund. This is grant funded through the GSRP program through the state of Michigan. All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And the motion carries 6-0. And we are going to stay with Member Sonnekrant for our next item.
Superintendent's Recommendation 68-24-25. Is it OKMA? OKMA? OKMA?
Yeah, OKMA.
IA budget. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the IA Okama Campus 2025-26 budget. I so move.
Support.
Support. All right, the motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And we are going to give Member Sonnekrant another break and move over to Secretary Ristich.
Okay, Superintendent's Recommendation 69-24-25, New Gateways Lease Amendment. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the proposed lease agreement with New Gateways and authorize the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations to sign on the board's behalf. I so move.
Support. All right, does anyone have any comments or questions in regards to the lease? Member Petrucia?
I think this was done very well. I like the outcome. We have a building that we're concerned about, maintaining it, the cost. Do we, I don't want to say kick to the curb someone that needs it, but we were able to work out an agreement where they can pick up some more of the cost where it isn't taxing on us, and they still get to run their programs. So I think it's a win-win for the community. That they're a very valuable source of our community. They do wonderful things, and they don't have to leave. So I'm glad we were able to work something out with our new people and making everything work. I feel better about it.
Member Ristich?
Again, Ms. Hildebrand, I wanted to thank you because this was, again, one of those unexpected surprises that you stumbled into, how this agreement was actually costing us money. A substantial amount of money. So I appreciate, again, the speed with which you brought this forth to the board. And to Jeremy, one of our council, who I think did just a fantastic job of explaining the parameters of this agreement and getting us something that, to Member Petrucia's point, is mutually beneficial and much, much better than the original agreement. So, thank you.
All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand, signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 6-0. We are going to stay with Secretary Ristich.
Superintendent Recommendation 70-24-25, resolution opposing the use of public funds for private educational institutions in the fiscal year 2026 House budget. Opposing the use of public funds for private educational institutions in fiscal year 2026 House budget. Whereas Michigan's Constitution prohibits public funds from supporting private K-12 education, and whereas the fiscal year 25-26 House budget would provide $40.8 million in direct per pupil payments to private K-12 schools for operational use, and whereas the same proposal includes $170.6 million in scholarships for students attending private universities, marking a significant expansion of state support for private education, and whereas these allocations threaten to undermine funding equity, accountability, and the constitutional integrity of Michigan's school aid fund, therefore be it resolved that the Waterford Board of Education strongly opposes the inclusion of any direct or indirect public funding for private educational institutions in the fiscal year 25-26 school aid and higher education budgets. Be it further resolved that the board urges the legislature and governor to finalize a constitutionally sound school aid budget that protects public education resources for all Michigan students, and I so move.
Support. All right, so this is one of the things that we touched on earlier, and you're going to have to bear with me for a minute because there's a lot of information that we need to make sure that our listening public is aware of. This is House Bill 4577. This is the House. This is what they voted on as their budget for this year. This is what they are proposing. This is their school aid budget for the 2025-2026 school year. Now, the Senate does have their version, and the House and the Senate will have to come together, come to a consensus, come to an agreement, and that's the budget that will end up on the governor's desk. There's a lot of things in this that would be detrimental, not only to Waterford, but to our entire public education system here in the state of Michigan. What is happening is not unique to Waterford. This is going to create a funding deficit that will be hard to fix for decades. And I think people need to be aware of what is happening in the legislature. It is important that we advocate and we get angry because this is not good for our students. The main reason everyone is here is for our students. And we need to make sure that we are providing an education for all. And I'm not just going to read to you things that came from an email or that we don't understand as board members. Prior to being on this board, I advocated at a state level as a parent. I created the public advocacy group for funding. So this is stuff that I'm very familiar with and I'm very upset about because we worked really hard prior to COVID, especially after having the School Finance Research Collaborative, and that information came out in 2018 and showed and proved that Michigan was underfunding our public education students by significant amounts. Currently, right now, the state of Michigan is the 28th in education funding, but we are in the bottom 10 for funding of our most vulnerable populations. We are in the bottom 10 in the nation. That is not okay. We have been fighting and advocating for public funding for years. The Research Finance Collaborative was a great way for us to show. In theory, Proposal A was great, but nobody factored in what was going to happen when the financial crash happened. And that really put a glaring light on how that wasn't going to work anymore. So in the House bill, they're going to create a new per pupil amount by eliminating essential categorical funding, which is one of the things that did point out in the school research, the Finance Collaborative. We found out that we needed to make sure that we are categorically funding kids because you couldn't just put everyone in the same pot, that there were many factors that go into educating a child, and those factors cost money. So one of the things that they're proposing is that they will eliminate categorical funding for at-risk, CTE, mental health, rural transportation, English language learners, safety and security, universal meals, which we just saw Mr. Williams give us a very important presentation and how important our meals are to our kids. We know that students that are hungry, it greatly impacts their ability to learn. They're also proposing taking out the funding for literacy education and more. Special education is also included. Not only are they proposing to put it all into one pot, but as it was spoke to in the resolution, they will be giving money to charter and private schools. Might I remind everybody that they can charge tuition. We cannot. They also are proposing, if we don't follow their specific requirements or they see it as a perceived slight, that they will penalize us with our funding and take up to 20% of what they're going to give us. So last year also, instead of increasing our per pupil foundation allowance, which is the base allowance that we get for our funding, the state proposed an increase and then suddenly they took it away. Because what they did instead was they gave us a rebate, a reduction of our MIPSers, which gave us a one-time influx of money, which was great. But we started raising red flags at that point because it was one-time money. We cannot do our budgets year to year on one-time money. We have to have it be recurring. The increase in the foundation per pupil allowance would have been recurring. This influx was not recurring. So they then promised that they would codify it into law and that we would continue to get this one-time money for the MIPSers. That they have decided to reverse. Without the MIPSers, that would reduce the money that is our money. The schools, the public schools in Michigan, $700 million is what they would reduce and take from our districts. They are also diverting, as we spoke in the resolution, more than $1 billion to higher education. That equates to $1,500 per student. $1,500 per student is what they are going to take from our kids to push over to higher education. Mind you, higher education, yes, they are struggling, but they too can charge tuition. We cannot. It also diverts $1.9 billion to the balance of the state's general fund. They want to take $1.9 million out of the school aid fund to balance their own budget in their general fund. That's a problem. There are two budgets in the state of Michigan, just two. There is a school aid fund and there is a general fund. The general fund funds everything else in the state. The school aid fund is ours. That is our money for our public education system. So this proposed budget would set Michigan schools back decades. It doesn't address the unique needs of all of our kids. It doesn't address the unique needs from districts all the way up north to districts in the middle, suburban, urban, rural, whatever. It doesn't. We need to be aware of what the legislature's doing. This is not to be politicized. This is nonpartisan. When it comes to our kids, things should never be political. This is about what's doing right for our students. We need to start stepping up and advocating and recognizing that the legislature isn't making decisions in the best interest of our kids. It is getting increasingly harder and more expensive to educate children. There are more and more things that are being thrown at schools and our families, and this shouldn't be a barrier. It's really sad that we have been in such the middle to the bottom in the funding. It's not where we should be. The other thing that I also find very interesting is it was during COVID, suddenly there was this realization by both the federal and the state government exactly how much schools do and how important they are. So they influxed us with a ton of funding. They gave us the funding that we should have had all along. Our district alone got over $16.3 million. We spent that money in the ways it needed to be spent. We invested in our curriculum, we invested in our staff, we did the things that we were supposed to do. It was tie-barred, but we followed the rules and we spent it. Suddenly, COVID is over. They took the funding. So I find it very interesting that they recognized how underfunded we were, the supports our students needed, and now suddenly they don't. And they are proposing to do things that would be even more detrimental to our kids, who, by the way, the state of Michigan, not just our district, and this is not inclusive of this is the state of Michigan, bottom 5 for recovery from the pandemic learning loss. So I hope you all get involved and advocate, because that's what we need to do for our kids and for our community. and for all the kids across the state of Michigan. I hope that you're angry, because we should be angry. This isn't right, it's not fair, it's not where our money should be going, it's not where our taxpayer dollars should be going. We should not be funding private education. That's not, people have a choice. Public tax dollars should not be funding private institutions. So I hope that you all get involved in helping us advocate, reach out to your legislature, not just your members in the House. The Senate needs to hear this as well. Because as they're negotiating between their two versions of this budget, there will be concessions. And we want to make sure that there are as little concessions as possible. And when this does get to the governor's desk, it needs to be a budget that has our students' best interest at heart. So thank you for bearing with me on that. I just feel like that's a lot of information that I don't think people understand what's happening. And I think it's really, really important that you need to understand the facts of what's happening and get involved and ask those questions and advocate and make your voices be heard. Because it takes a village, right? It takes a village for change. And I felt like we were moving towards that change prior to COVID, and then all of a sudden it stopped. So, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Member McGregor?
One thing more specific to this resolution that I think is important for individuals to understand as well is that if our state decides to go forward with funding private education, those educational institutions do not have to accept all students. And that's a problem. Public education is open to everybody. Everybody is entitled to a good education. That's very important for our country and for our kids. But if we go forward with this as a state, this is very problematic. We're giving money to institutions that don't have any oversight. There is no public board, no public requirements, the same way that a public educational system has. So I just want to put that out there because I think there are people who are like, well, I would love my kid to go to a private school. However, your kid is not guaranteed to get into that private school. And this is especially problematic for students with special needs. If you are not supposed to be treated differently and being accepted to a school because of a disability, but it is very well known, and if you look at the statistics, that students with disabilities don't get into private schools the same way, they don't get the same level of education, and we need to protect all students. So, thank you.
All right. Are there any other comments or questions? Member Torres?
I appreciate your words, and that Member Wagner, Chair Wagner, the collaborative study, you know, she hit the nail right on the head on all her points, and the collaborative study, so you're all aware, was back in about 2018. There was this organization that put forth this study that said this is what it costs to educate a child in the state of Michigan. And this is what school districts are being funded, what we're being funded in the state. And it was very eye-opening because it showed how below the mark we were in the state of Michigan. And then from that, as President Wagner stated, that we started to see, once we got into COVID, how important schools were, and then the funding started to come in. And they started to meet us where we needed to be met. But in the past 2 years, I would say, we've started to see that draw back more. So that is where we need the advocacy. We need people to go and to push. And I know it's hard. And people think, well, you know, nothing changes. It does. It does. You know, we've been to Lansing, several of us here on this board, numerous times, spoken to the legislature, spoke to individual legislators and told them our stories because they're not on the front lines. They don't see. We love teachers to come. We love administrators to come. We love school personnel to come. It is very important for them to get an eye of what is happening in the school districts because they don't see that. They're not part of the day-to-day, the categorical as well. That is a very important piece because that allows school districts to receive funding in particular areas where we're more vulnerable. When we look at a Waterford school district, we have a lot of early English language learners We have the at-risk population as well. So the Waterford School District needs those categorical goals in those areas more than other districts per se. As Board Member McGregor stated, the charter and the privates, they don't have to take your kids. You know, they can not take the kids. So here in the school district in Waterford, we educate all children. We meet them where they're at. So for them to be able to take our public education dollars, you know, it makes it very difficult and puts us in a very difficult situation. The one-time funding that we got last year, now bringing it back to the per pupil increase, that is important. And that changed, because I think they thought they did a good thing last year, but we pushed back as school districts and school boards and told Lansing that was not the right way to go. And they flipped it back over because of that advocacy and that push. We still have a lot of ground to make up post-COVID. The effects, I know as a parent that I see, and as a school board member out there as well, we're doing a lot right to try to get kids back on track, and blame who you will, but at the end of the day, we are where we are. And there are a lot of kids that need to get up to par and to make up ground for where they were pre-pandemic. So we got to advocate, we got to push, and I can tell you as a trustee, and many of us here as trustees, you entrust us to make the right decisions. They may not always look like the best decisions, but I can tell you that we do a lot of work in between to make these decisions and to try to hit the nail on the head as best as we can. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I will add that the Research Finance Collaborative, that was the study that was released in 2018, they also released an update in 2021. And so their website is still up if you're interested in reading it. I've read the whole study. It's not that bad to get through, but also read the update, because they are consistently and continually doing work to make sure that they are on the track with how we're funding. All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 6-0. And we are back to Treasurer Sonnekrant.
Superintendent's Recommendation 71-24-25, Facility Utilization Study, 25.01. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve Plant Moran Real Point as the management firm to complete the facility utilization study in the amount of $60,000 funded by the general fund, and authorize the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations to sign on the board's behalf. I so move.
Support. All right, the motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Treasurer Sonnekrant.
Superintendent's Recommendation 72-24-25, Donaldson Hills easement. It is recommended that the Board of Education grant the Water Resource Commission access to our property in order to make the necessary repair and installation as outlined. I so move.
Support. All right, the motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right, motion carries 6-0. All right, we are now going to move on to public comment on non-action items. Is there anyone else out there that has a green card? I do have one green card here. Okay. Ms. Lori Tunick, if you could make your way to the podium. Please be reminded that comments are limited to 3 minutes in duration. Members of the public are invited to share comments. However, this is not intended to be a time for questions and answers. Lastly, participants may speak only once on the same topic and are asked to avoid statements that are personally directed, abusive, or obscene.
Good evening, board members and community members. My name is Lori Tunick, and I'm the Executive Director of MEA, servicing Waterford, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of all the MEA locals in Waterford. I want to take a moment to update you on the current status of negotiations between the associations and the district. Unfortunately, I must report that progress has been slow and concerning. 2 months ago, the teachers presented a comprehensive proposal aimed at ensuring competitive compensation, protecting instructional quality, and respecting the hard work of our staff. Yesterday, we finally received a close to complete counter proposal from the district, but not complete. The support staff contracts are on hold, and we do not go back to the table to these groups until July. Further, the district has made several troubling assumptions that stall negotiations before we begin a meaningful discussion. Your budget assumptions of no on-schedule increases, no improvements to the salary schedule, no off-schedule payments. Such assumptions made before financial negotiations have occurred do not reflect good faith bargaining, nor do they reflect what is best for students. Adding to our concerns, the district has stated at each table for 2 months now that it will not engage in any financial discussions until after the governor's budget has been announced. This guarantees contracts will expire. I also want to address the school calendar. While a calendar proposal was given to the Teachers Association a month ago, we made it clear that since the district is not willing to talk finances, we are not willing to talk calendar. You cannot ask our members to plan their lives around a calendar when you refuse to address the compensation and financial issues that impact those very same lives. And if the district believes it can make assumptions without pay negotiations, then let me be equally clear. Teachers can also assume that we do not wish to sit through things you seemingly cannot afford. Monthly, after contract hour and a half long staff meetings. We do not want larger class sizes. We do not believe it's acceptable for secretaries to be made responsible for heavier workloads because positions have been cut. We do not believe it's acceptable to remove media technicians from both the middle and high schools without presenting a reasonable plan to maintain library services and quality working order. If the district claims it cannot afford to invest in its employees, then you certainly cannot afford luxuries like this either. Finally, the association has already presented ideas and proposals to save the district money, responsible, fair options. To date, the district has shown little interest in pursuing these ideas. Our staff deserves respect and a fair contract. You gave only some employees on-schedule financial increases last year. Stop asking the employees to balance your budget on their back.
All right, thank you, Ms. Tunick.
Competitively paid employer. This is why you do not retain staff.
I do appreciate it, thank you. Are there any other green cards out there? All right, we are going to move on now to our board reports. I'd like to start off with our board reports by first, I'd like to recognize Member Donahue, who is not here. He was recognized last night by MASB for reaching the data skills specialty and community relations specialty. He was awarded a certificate. And our beloved former member, Joan Sutherland, was also awarded Level 1 Certified Board Member Award, Level 2 Award of Merit, and Level 3 Award of Distinction. I also want to thank Member McGregor for attending last night's award ceremony with Member Donahue. So that was always fun when we see our members be recognized for their hard work that they put into being on the board. I also want to give a thank you to Mr. Darren Holly and to Ms. Lisa Eldridge, who both stepped in and were our interim superintendents through this past year. We greatly, greatly appreciate your leadership and all the hard work, and we know it wasn't easy. We appreciate that you both were willing to step into that role, do some of the very heavy lifting. I know the last few months have been a little crazy, but we are greatly, greatly appreciative of you coming back, Lisa, for sure, and Darren being willing to take on 2 roles in the beginning of the school year. So we are excited to welcome our new superintendent, Mr. Adam Martin, who will begin his career here on July 1st, but we will be forever grateful to you for coming in and making sure that those shoes were filled. through this past school year. I also want to thank my colleague, Mr. Petrucia, for participating with me on the recent reinstatement hearing. Those are some of the things that we as board members have to do, so I appreciate that he was part of it. And I also want to give a huge shout out to our 2025 grads. It is always a pleasure to be part of those graduation ceremonies, and as Member Torres said earlier, it's a reset for us because it's one of those shining lights in our day to be able to see these kids be able to reach their goals and know that they're going out in the world to do great things. And as I said to one of our grads, go out there and prove to the world just how amazing, we are as a Corsair, as a captain, or as a Viking. So, all right, are there any other board reports? Member Stitch?
Just really quick, lots of great summer opportunities through WSD coming through in your inboxes. I saw it just today. I think we had tennis camp, basketball camp. Make sure you're taking advantage of those. I think I've talked my sons into going to tennis camp, which I might be more happy about than them. And again, congrats to our amazing graduates. Well done. Have a great summer, everyone.
Anyone else? Any other board reports? All right, we're going to move on to superintendent report.
Okay, thank you. The Waterford Foundation for Public Education held its 38th annual golf outing this past Tuesday, honoring Mott graduate Derek Fries. Proceeds from the golf outing benefit curricular and extracurricular activities here in the Waterford School District. Thank you to all the golfers and many volunteers for making the day a success. Summer programming is well underway. We have Summer of STEAM, which just began, and we will be moving into Camp WSD along with our secondary summer school programming all throughout the summer. Hopefully, your students are involved in some of the great opportunities we have. I had the opportunity to spend some time with Adam Martin, the new superintendent, this week and a few weeks ago. He is excited, eager, and ready to start on July 1st, and I know he will do a wonderful job. Finally, I'd like to congratulate the staff, students, parents, and this board on a successful 24-25 school year. It had its struggles, it had its challenges, but we made it through, and I wish everyone a safe and enjoyable summer break and all the best in the next school year.
All right, seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Have a great summer, everybody. Thank you.